Hello everybody, welcome back to another video in my science lab, and today I will be showing you all about forming hydroxides. So I'm going to pour a little bit more water into my distilled water container. I'm going to get out a bottle of copper sulfate that you've seen me using in previous videos. I'm going to get out a few bottles of chemical salts, and as you can see I've got 3 test tubes set up. I'm going to pour roughly about 1 milliliter of water into each one. So, oh no, I think I poured way too much. Okay, let's try that again. But this time, let's do it like this. But unfortunately I cannot get it on camera. So you need to tilt the test tube. There we go. Just a little bit more, but it should be fine. As you can see, I'm trying to get an even amount of water into each test tube. We got exactly 1 milliliter there, and around 1 milliliter there. There we go. And you see me use this. We've got sodium hydroxide, an extremely strong alkaline, and we're, as always, going to put the lid like that to keep it clean. We're going to use a glass dropper for this, and make sure you don't get the liquid in the rubber part, because it's going to eat away the rubber, and this is 100% sodium hydroxide, so this is very bad for you. And don't forget to wear gloves, but to me, gloves are really hot, so I'm not going to wear them. But you should wear them. So let's take some, and if you remember me from last videos, from the few videos that I did in the past times, you need to use the dropper and drip liquids like this. So you don't want to touch the side like this, because you're going to make your dropping inaccurate. But we're going, let's do the dropping later. But I will be taking out a mortar and pestle, as you see here, and I'm going to take some copper sulfate, put it in the mortar and pestle, take it and put it into the mortar, and I'm going to take the pestle and grind it up. Now, I'm not going to pour, I don't want to pour in too much, because I'm not going to use it all. It's going to be a complete waste. But I'm pretty sure that this, however, is enough. So I'm going to take the pestle and grind it up. And while I'm grinding it, please do consider the questions I asked you throughout the video. Okay, now I want to grind this into a fine powder. And when you're grinding, notice how the crystals are turning whitish, like that. Now, why is it turning white? Tell me down below in the comments. I personally think that it is because that when I'm squeezing it, the water that is inside it comes out, and it turns white. Speaking of water and white copper sulfate, I do have a variant of white copper sulfate that I will show you right now. As you can see, it is a white powder, and it isn't the one that you want to use, because this is not really copper sulfate. It is copper anhydrate, which means that it's literally copper sulfate, but it has all the water taken out of it. The copper sulfate you see me using here has a chemical formula of COSO4, and after that a dot 5H2O, which means it has 5 molecules of water bonded to it, and that is what makes it blue. Now that copper sulfate I just showed you was just COSO4, which means it didn't have any water, which is why it was white. So now that I ground it up into a fine powder, I'm going to pour it in here. Now, you do want to be careful not to get any onto the side. I'm doing my best try not to get them onto the side, and do try not to spill. And do not tilt the mortars too much, because then the copper sulfate will spill, and you do not want that. So, I'm going to pause the video while I get this in. So I'll see you in a while. Okay, now that I am back, and I do want to point out that I found it very helpful to scoop it clean with a match, which the head was removed. And we must clean the mortar and pestle, so that it will be ready for use the next time that we use it. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a good rinse, and dry it off with a square of paper towel. Okay, and clean up any messes that I've made. Okay, and put it back where it belongs. So, there we go. And now, since the powders we have here is already fine enough, we will not be crushing it. So next up, we've got zinc sulfate, which is another chemical salt, which you see here. It somewhat resembles salt, and but I assure you do not want to use this as a salt that you would cook with. But I'm going to scoop a little bit in, roughly the same amount that I put in with the copper sulfate. And try not to get the big chunks in. If you have big chunks, don't forget to use a mortar and pestle, guys. And I'm going to try to take the match, which from the head was removed, and scoop some in. I'm doing my best not to spill, so it is taking a bit of time. And I'm also trying my best not to get this boulder go in. Man, this boulder is so annoying. In fact, what I'm gonna just take the match, do it. I'm just gonna poke it until it turns into powder. There we go, much better. So, okay, there we go. So, whoopsies. I'm just gonna take that big chunk and throw it in there because it wouldn't hurt. There we go. There we go. Around the same amount put in there. And we'll put that away because we do not need that anymore. And we'll move on to iron sulfate. Now this is green. It kind of looks like a cleaning detergent, but trust me, like the zinc sulfate, you do not want to use this to clean your dishes. Because this stuff is not meant for cleaning dishes, and it is a salt from iron. Even though it's a salt, you shouldn't use it to cook your lunch or dinner or breakfast either. Okay. There we go. So now we'll put that away. And I highly recommend using a match from the head was removed. And we'll stir it up by doing this. And if it doesn't really work, we can always use our stirring rod, which I'll throw in there, and it is just long enough for me to actually use it to stir. And we'll clean that up. And I'll throw it in my tub of water for now. And be careful not to bang it on the table, because you stand a chance of breaking the test tube, which should not happen. And now that we got a blue solution there, now zinc sulfate, as it is a white salt, we should have a white solution. Or a clear solution, I meant. Okay, now we'll go in with the stir rod. Now we'll throw it back in our tub of water. There we go. And last but not least, we will have the iron sulfate. So, but first I'm going to give it a good stir. And even though the salt is green, do not expect the liquid to be green. But it does have a slight green tint if I compare it to the zinc sulfate solution. So I'm going to throw that in my bucket of water and give it a good mix. There's a lot not dissolved. Yeah, let's add a little bit more water there, shall we? There we go. That ought to be enough. There we go. That's pretty much all dissolved. Now, we will move that away because we will not need it. And we will drop 2 drops into the test tube. 2 drops in here. And 2 drops in here. And we'll throw the rest back into our bottle. Seal it. Put it in a place where your pet's little sisters or little brother cannot get to it. And we'll wash our dropper. And I recommend washing it twice. And we'll put it back where it belongs. And we'll also clean up any messes we made. But do not forget to wear gloves, because this stuff is very bad for you. Now, let's take an observation. What has happened here? As you can see, we got a solid substance near the top. And in fact, let's just get a little bit more sodium hydroxide, because I feel like the reaction's not completely done yet. So, it looks like I'm gonna have to get some more sodium hydroxide soon. There we go. And it does look like we've got a little bit more of that bluish stuff floating in there. And that, my dear friends, is copper hydroxide. Now, you know what I dropped in there was sodium hydroxide. So now we got copper hydroxide, because we put copper sulfate into this test tube. And because the chemical formula for sodium hydroxide is NaOH, and the chemical formula for sodium hydroxide is I think it was Cu2OH4, but correct me down below in the comments if it was wrong, because every day you learn something new. And the same thing goes for the other two test tubes, which I'll be showing you later. Now, this stuff actually looks pretty nice to me, in fact, but we will have to empty it out in our waste bucket solution. Give the test tube a thorough wash with the test tube brush I showed you earlier. If you haven't watched that video, please do so now, as at the end of the video, I always put a card to my playlist that this is in. So, like I mentioned, there's a hoop at the end, and I'm going to use that to twist it. And then I'm going to give it a good wash. Throw away the rest of that waste. And we'll put it back into its proper place. There we go. So let's move on to what happened here. Now, as you can see, we've also got a little bit of whitish stuff floating in here. Let's just see if I can focus. Yeah, we got some whitish stuff floating around in there for sure. And that is zinc hydroxide, as you can guess. I don't need to explain to you, hopefully, because I hope you've caught on to what I said about the copper hydroxide. Okay. And I forgot to mention that if I forgot to mention some questions I asked at the in this video, please do check in the description, because I always tend to put things that most people don't see there. And then let's put some more sodium hydroxide in the iron sulfate. There we go, we'll put that back. We'll give our dropper a good rinse. Put it back. And we'll observe what happened here. As you can see, something similar happened, but this time we got green iron hydroxide. And the solution does look slightly yellowish to me. Maybe because of the contaminants in there, but whatever, we got what I was expecting. So we will clean that out carefully, and not to bang the test tube on the table, which I do every now and then. And we'll throw away the waste, put the test tube back where it belongs, and there we go. So, as always, I must cover up my scientific tools with paper towel, so they will not be covered in dust, and throw some weights onto them. There we go. And we will clean up any messes that we made. Put away our jar of sodium hydroxide, which I must make some more soon. And we'll clean up with those powder later. But anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time. Stay tuned for the next video. And what the heck was that laters? Seriously, guys. I can be very stupid sometimes, and I do ask you to forgive me for that, but you know what I mean. Thank you all for watching.